The end goal of every no money spent player should be to complete the live series collection. With the power creep coming back, these 399 overall players are going to be some of the best cards for months. And in order to get your hands on them as quickly as possible, you also need to make sure you maximize the stubs that you use. And when I say maximize, I don't mean spend as many stubs as you can, but make sure that every single player you buy is worth every stub you spend. Now that may sound a little confusing, but watch throughout the video as I'm going to teach you how to 1. Filter your inventory to make it more eye appealing to create the buy orders to buy these players, how to create buy orders where you maximize the bang for your buck, and certain tasks that you will be able to do a lot more easier once you do complete these collections. But before diving any further, please hit that like button or subscribe button, notification bell. We stream daily on Twitch. The link is inside the description. Go ahead and follow. We're going to start off with the 9 teams that you should go ahead and collect right now. And it doesn't matter if you're no money spent or money spent. These are teams that do not have diamonds, and you can get for roughly under 10,000 stubs, depending on how you go about it. The number 1 team you should be going after and the cheapest team are the Miami Marlins. They get you 80 overall, Rob Nen, and roughly, depending on how you go about purchasing the players, they will cost you around 2,500 stubs. The Colorado Rockies are up next. You get 83 overall, DJ LeMahieu, second baseman, and this team will cost you roughly 3,000 stubs. The Tampa Bay Rays come in at number 3. Featuring Joey Wendell, second baseman, and they will cost you roughly 3,000 stubs as well. The Chicago White Sox come in at number 4, featuring left fielder Eloy Jimenez. They will cost you around 4,000 stubs. The Washington Nationals, team number 5, Gary Carter, catcher. They will round you about 4,500 stubs. The San Francisco Giants are up next, and they will roughly cost you around 6,000 stubs. And you might be wondering, how do I know the estimate? Well, wait until the end, as we got a website that could also help you out greatly, and I'm not sponsored, just so you know. The Minnesota Twins bring 84 overall first baseman Justin Morneau. You can get them for roughly 7,500 stubs. The Boston Red Sox, who surprisingly don't have a diamond at all, you can get them for roughly 8,500 stubs and get yourself Enrique Hernandez. The St. Louis Cardinals are the final team and the only one featuring a diamond currently. You can take a gamble and say, hey, Sonny Gray might drop at a diamond in order to save some stubs, but the amount of stubs that you would be saving compared to waiting until that finally happens are probably negative to just going and buying him and completing this collection right now. And by completing the Cardinals, you get yourself Larry Walker as a right fielder. Now you might be asking yourself, how do you go about it in order to make it a lot easier for me to see which players I'm missing? So let's go into our inventory, and let's say we wanted to complete the Boston Red Sox. Instead of pressing R1 and going to the Red Sox, instead what I would do is go down to where it says teams, and then I would go to Red Sox, and then I would toggle both the Red Sox and live series, and then I would search. What this allows us to do is just look through Boston Red Sox players. Yes, you can do the same thing in the collection, or you could even do the same thing inside of this inventory screen. But the beauty about this is that when you go into the marketplace, let's say for this 55 overall, and you back out, it keeps you on the same page and it reverts you back to the initial point, as opposed to, let's say, us not having them toggled, entering again, and then scrolling all the way down, selecting the 61 overall, backing out, and then having to go all the way to the top once it resets, scroll all the way down, and continue buying out those players. So let me show you how I would go about buying these cards and give you every single little trick I can in terms of the marketplace. So let's say we wanted to get ourselves Jarren Duran. So we see that he has 5 buy orders at 1,719, and then 15 in total below that in terms of 718 and 717. We're not down to wait that long. You can if you have the time, but let's say you want to get this collection done as soon as possible. I know that 1,725 is going to sell relatively soon, so I could easily not even have to overcut it by 1 and put 1,726. I could simply just put 1,720, create that buy order, and then continue on, because the 1,725 is not someone trying to stack as many Jaren Durants as they possibly can. We will advance now to Garrett Crochet. As you see, there is a current buy order at 1,400, and then there are 38 buy orders at 1,341. I don't want to create a 1,341, and I could save myself a good amount of stubs if I don't do 1,400 or don't do 1,401. So in this situation, I would simply just create a buy order at 1,342. That way I am on top of the 1,341 38 buy orders and could get it as soon as possible as well. As you see, it dropped down to that 1,341. Devers only has one buy order at 604. So if I don't want the card right now, let's say for example, and I'm willing to wait a couple of minutes, I could just not have to overcut him. I don't know what the terminology is for when you go one stub higher in order to create the buy order. I know the one in terms of selling is undercutting, so that's why I'm calling this overcutting. But instead of overcutting him, we could just share at 604, and I could simply just place it there and go about my day, because I know that eventually it's going to sell. With Bregman, on the other hand, there are 40 buy orders at 608. I'll just go ahead and put one at 609. That way I don't waste any time. And these players are also close to their quick sell value. If you want to know what the quick sell value is of any card, just go create a buy order, put a 1 in it. Nothing higher than a 1. Finalize the order, and then it'll tell you what the highest amount it is the card can be sold for. Or what's the lowest amount, it can be sold for. And 81 overalls are 600. For Sedan Rafaela, you'll see that it's different. At certain tiers, it is different. At other tiers, they're all the same. For example, all commons, you can create buy orders for 5 stubs, and that is the minimum they go to. For this silver at a 78, it's 125 stubs. I would just create a buy order at 168 here for Rafaela, but you can also, because the 4 are going to sell relatively quick, since silver cards are sold nonstop throughout the community marketplace, you can also get away with placing a buy order at 162. You can also get away with placing a buy order at 141. Hell, you can even get away with placing a buy order at 126 and then going about your business and then later on checking to see if it either got down to that buy order of yours or the numbers are still ramping up. Aroldis Chapman, 1,200 and 1,003 stubs. Right now, he's looking pretty expensive, but he's a good reliever in the game. I wouldn't go ahead and compete with all these guys. I would just put it at 956. So if you guys can see what I'm doing here, it's basically in order to maximize the amount of stubs that I save, I go ahead and pick and choose where to create the buy order in order to not spend as much. Now, if you do this for every team that I mentioned, from the Marlins all the way to the St. Louis Cardinals, then you're not going to be spending the average that I mentioned inside the video. You are going to be spending a significantly less amount of stubs per team. So instead of spending, let's say 2,500 on the Marlins or 2,000 stubs, you'll probably end up spending 1,500 or even less, because this is another big piece of advice. In the daytime, these cards are generally a lot higher than they are in the nighttime. So this would be my suggestion. Before you go to sleep, go through whichever teams, these 9 teams, and create the buy orders and leave it overnight. Overnight, most of the cards will sell. I promise you. That's how I have completed most of these collections. For example, even Paul Skeens, who went down in price, I got him for around, I think 69. No, actually I put him in a pack, so let me not lie to you guys. But what I'm trying to say is, at nighttime, you can probably create a buy order for Paul Skeens at around 65,500 stubs and just leave it there until it eventually sells, which it most likely will, as long as the numbers are relatively close. If you put one at 65,000 for Shohei Ohtani, it most likely is never selling, because Ohtani most likely will never drop down to a 65,000 stub value. I hope you guys understand what I mean by that. Now, before we jump into what you can do now with these teams collected, let's talk about the site that can help you out tremendously when it comes to MLB The Show. It's called showzone.com. .gg. Showzone is spelled together as one word and then just .gg. If you go into this site, you don't need to create an account. You don't need to start a trial, none of that. It has a ton of features available for free. You can just simply select collections, select live series, and then it'll tell you the entire cost of collecting all live series cards. And then if you drop down, you can go ahead and filter it by high, filter it by low, and see which teams are the cheapest to buy. Now, low means creating buy orders at whatever the highest sell now price is, and then high is by flat out just buying the players out from whatever the highest sell order is. Now, the reason why completing these 9 collections are probably going to be pivotal for you as a player overall is even if you don't want to necessarily complete Team Affinity as soon as possible and get all of the Team Affinity cards, each of these collections are going to give you 20,000 Team Affinity points. And if you did the moments and then you completed the collection for these 9 teams, you are going to have 18 silvers and 18 golds to work on Parallel XP Missions 4 in order to unlock the diamond. And why do you want to work on Team Affinity? Well, the 25th, we are going to have our first collection. That collection is going to be inside of the Jolt. You need 15 Jolt series players in order to get this voucher, which will most likely allow you to redeem that Legends and Flashbacks player, which, by the way it sounds, it's going to either be a very good player regardless of the overall, or a player at the max overall comparable to whatever ranked season rewards and battle royale flawless rewards are out there. So clearly an important player to get, and by doing these collections, and then you can easily do specific team builds for the Team Affinity stat missions as well, for example. So the Tampa Bay Rays, or let's do the Boston Red Sox. You have quick impact missions where you need to get doubles, hits, home runs, runs, stolen bases. So now that you have every single player on the Boston Red Sox, you can set up a team full of them 1 through 9 where you place them on however you feel comfortable hitting, and then you go into play versus CPU. You face the Colorado Rockies as away. You go ahead and put the Red Sox 5th best starting pitcher. You select your 5th best starting pitcher, so the Rockies also select their 5th best starting pitcher. Now, if you want a lefty, then you're gonna have to figure out 3 through 5 where their lefty is. If you want a righty, you can figure out 3 through 5 where their righty is, or you might just want their best pitcher because that's who you read the best and select your first. You can go ahead and check out each pitcher until you find one that's comfortable. But all you're gonna be doing is heading in there with your Team Affinity team and hitting in that first inning. Once the 3 outs are completed of you hitting, since you're playing away, you should be hitting first. You just quit out and all the stats will save towards the progress for the Team Affinity missions, and that's a way to get Team Affinity done even faster. Now, I know this might have been a lot, especially for you guys that don't necessarily know how to use the community marketplace, but I hope that it can help you complete these collections, at least these 9, and then allow yourself to begin working towards teams with diamonds that don't have too many diamonds or have cheap diamonds. For example, the Brewers are a great honorable mention. They only have William Contreras, and William Contreras is not that expensive either, so you can get them for relatively cheap and complete that collection and add a 10th team. You can probably get 15 teams completed for less than 100,000 stubs. That might be a little bit of a push. Maybe not 100,000 stubs, but roughly somewhere along those lines. If you did end up enjoying today's content, hit that like button or subscribe button, notification bell. Check out the description for links to our Twitch where we stream daily as well as our socials. Have a blessed day and night. Stay positive, stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.